evening to everyone at Broadway Baptist. Thank you for letting us join you this evening in your service. We're very excited to hear that you guys are talking about missions and about South Africa and about your partnership with Refilwe. We're sorry that we can't Skype live with you. Unfortunately, it's about 1 in the morning while you're watching this, and we love you, but not quite that much. We're very glad, though, that we can continue our partnership with you guys, and we really appreciate all the work that you guys have put in for us over the last few years. And yeah, we've got a few questions that have been asked that I'll be answering. Jay and Megan, who you guys have worked with quite a bit in the past, have just had their baby, little Jensen, and he's all of 3 days old now, so they're both on leave at the moment. But I know that they really wish that they could be part of this discussion. My name is Kate, and I am the COO at Refilwe. So Jay is our CEO, which means that he heads up all of our strategic decision making, all of our high-level partnerships, and really drives the ship. I am sort of his second in command, and I basically manage all of the other programs. So we have 9 programs. That is our baby home, our aftercare at Refilwe Godparent and in the community in Joslovo, our foster care program and independent living for our older young adults, our preschool on-site, as well as the preschools that we support in the local informal settlements, our kids club, our holiday club, and our recycling program. I manage all of those program managers, and I am the direct manager for recycling, the foster care program, as well as our site and our fleet. What projects are taking most of my time right now? Site and fleet always take a lot of time, a lot more than you think that they should. The back end of running an NGO is a lot more complex than most people imagine, and if we could find a way to make all of those programs go away, it would be wonderful if we never had to worry about burst geysers and roofs falling off and that sort of thing again. Otherwise, at the moment, I'm very invested in our Godparent program. I've taken that over in October, and there's quite a lot of work to be done there. We haven't fully understood the needs of our foster children academically as well as we'd hoped, and a lot of that is starting to show now. So I've been doing a lot of research into learning disabilities, psychological conditions, and other challenges that our foster children are experiencing in terms of their education. We've also been spending a lot of time between Jay and myself trying to get a learnership college up and running, which is very exciting, and we've just received board approval to do a trial of that program yesterday. So basically what that looks like is we're going to have 49 unemployed individuals from our community who are going to be put through training courses either in end-user computing is what it's called, so basic computing skills that you would need for an office-type position, or a early childhood development qualification, which is your basic preschool development. And so we're going to be working with the 17 schools that we partner with in terms of giving them a curriculum which are in the informal settlements, and we're going to be upskilling their teachers as well as providing classroom assistance for them, which will be free of charge to the school. So they're going to be paid for by the corporates that we're partnering with. And we're very excited about this because it gives us a real chance to improve the education that these small children are receiving and to make them ready for grade 1. What we've seen statistically in the schools around us is that if you lose a child in grade 1, you never catch that child up again. And so if we can give these children a great shot at being clever in grade 1, knowing that they can do things academically and really just having faith in themselves, then we've actually given them a much better shot at reaching their matric, which is our grade 12 qualification here. What do I wish I could spend more time doing is the next question. I think really having a lot more time to connect with our people would be great at this stage. The last few months have been very busy administratively, and especially in terms of this research that I'm doing and trying to track down professionals that can do assessments for us and that can offer therapeutic services. And so I haven't had as much time as I'd hoped to really get to spend time with the foster parents and to get to spend time with the managers that I'm overseeing. And I think, yeah, that's probably the biggest thing, is just having more hours in the day to actually be able to meet up with people, to build those relationships. That's very important for us, but it's something that very easily gets put on the back burner if there's a crisis. I'm very excited, though. I've been able to start in the last few weeks a parenting course with our foster parents, which is done by Focus on the Family. It's called Raising Highly Capable Kids, and that's been really great just in terms of creating a much more open culture of communication among all the parents, and also giving me a chance to actually get to sit down with them, since I have just taken over this program, and really get to know them well. Okay, what has it meant for Refilwe to be connected with a network of churches in the U.S.? I think the biggest thing for us is knowing that we've got support and that people believe in the mission that we're doing overseas. We've got our partners in the U.S., which is largely the network that your churches are connected with, as well as a few churches in the western part of the States. We've got our partners in the UK who come out every year from Caldy Grange Grammar School. And then we've recently started a partnership with an organization called Refilwe Netherlands, who was formed to support us from some previous volunteers that we've had. And so we've got quite a good relationship in the Netherlands as well. And I think knowing that people overseas believe in the mission that we're trying to accomplish, that you guys financially support us, and yeah, really just having that sort of prayer support as well is really important for us. I'm really pleased to see that at the end you've asked for some prayer requests, which we'll definitely give you. That's a huge thing for us. Prayer is just as powerful whether it's coming from someone sitting in our offices or someone overseas, and so we really do appreciate that aspect that you can give us as well. I think also the longevity of our connection has been a wonderful thing. You guys have been involved with Refilwe for certainly as long as I've been here, which is 4 years now, and it's been amazing to see the way that this has been able to grow and develop, and the way that the programs that you're supporting have grown and developed. The Broadway Hunger Offering, which we really do appreciate, is used in our agape meals, which is a community meal that we have together. It's used in our preschool, where we feed 73 children every day. Often these are the only meals that these kids are getting a day. At least a third of our children are living in what South Africa considers to be below the poverty line, which is getting less than $30 a month. So obviously a very different sort of measure of poverty than what we've got in the States. We also use it with the clinic with our grannies, and then our Saturday Kids Club as well, which has really grown. When that program started, it was about 50 kids that were coming, and now we've got, on our very busy days, up to 160, which is just amazing to reach out to the kids from these local communities with the gospel, with a warm meal, and just with a lot of love for them. All right, what have you all learned from groups like the ones that come out to visit, and what do you wish groups had understood better before they come out to visit? I think I'll take all of these group questions kind of together. The vision that we've developed in the last few months to last year is really to change a little bit of the way that the groups think that are coming out. Most of the focus for groups coming out to Refilwe is on the work that they're going to do while they're here, and that is very important. We really appreciate all of the physical work, all of the help that we get with looking after the kids, with visiting the grannies, but the real impact that you guys are making is far beyond the walls that you paint. Those might be the things that you can still see when you come back, but the impact that you're making is really the encouragement that you offer to our beneficiaries and to our staff. With our beneficiaries, so our children or the grannies from the clinic, the fact that someone actually cares enough about them to come all the way on a ridiculously long plane trip and to spend time with them is quite remarkable. It sounds a little bit trite, but it really is something that they talk about sort of with a sense of wonder of saying, "Sure, someone actually thinks that I'm important enough to go to all this effort to come and spend time with me." And then when you spend time with them and you make it clear that you think they are super cool, that just builds their confidence so much. A lot of our grannies in the communities have been sort of rejected by the families, so the children are not looking after them well, or the children have moved away. they don't necessarily have a great network of people that are able to actually support them. And when we go out and we spend time with them and we listen to their stories, we give them a chance to tell their story, we ask questions that we're interested in, it gives them such a boost of confidence to know, oh, people actually want to hear what I have to say still. Very often our people don't have a voice because society has told them that they're not worth it. And when you guys come out and you ask questions and you give the kids opportunities to perform for you, when you laugh at their silly jokes, all those things, you're giving them a voice and you're helping them to know they've been heard. The other main thing that you guys do is you come out and you encourage our staff. We do this year-round, many years, and it's a very hard job. With a lot of the people that are working for us, their home lives are not easy either. They might have to walk long distances to get to work. Those that live in shacks, if it rains, they've probably spent the night awake bailing water out of their house. It leaks, they get sick, their kids get sick. Some of them have got drunk, abusive husbands that they're dealing with at home. And yet they come to work every day and they love our kids. And the kids very often don't appreciate it. Any of you that have got children will know how rare it is for anyone to actually say thank you to you. They just want more food, they just want better food, they want better clothes, and it can be a very discouraging position for our people to be in. So when your groups come out and you tell them that they're doing amazing jobs, when you take them for coffee, when you bring them little hand lotions or silly things like that, it seems like a small gesture for you, but for us it really is significant. And the quality of care that the kids receive after their caregivers or their teachers have been encouraged by you really does go up. We can all feel towards June, July, we start to get very tired, and then the groups come out and it's sort of a little burst of enthusiasm that we all get because you guys are enjoying it so much, and it's contagious. And it really is good for us to be able to see that. And so I'd like to encourage you, whether you're coming to Refilwe or going somewhere else on some sort of missions trip, to remember that you're not just there for the children. You're also there for the staff. And take time to speak to them, to hear their stories, and to see how you can encourage them in the work that they're doing. If you can come out and you can bring a training, even better. We love trainings. Even if it's something that you've heard before, being reminded of it can be very empowering for our people. Next question. What do I hope that a group will take away from the visit? I think a realization that there but for the grace of God go I. We don't find it easy sitting in our churches in America to understand that the people living in these shacks, or the children that have been removed from their families and placed in a foster care environment like Refilwe, or the parents of the preschoolers coming to our preschool, are the same as we are. They just don't have the same opportunities, and they don't have the same encouragement, and they don't have a real belief in themselves often that they can do things. And so I think rather than coming with a, oh, shame, these poor people complex, which is what is very easy for us to do, I think what I'd really love for all of the groups that are doing mission work is to see that God has made these people just the same as He's made us. They've been born into different circumstances, but their potential to be used for the kingdom is just as high. And so I would love for all of your people to go back from their trips this year feeling encouraged, feeling inspired, seeing the world a little bit differently, maybe having a bigger view of what the world is and of their role in it, and really just knowing that the God that you are serving in the States is the same God that we are serving here, and being able to feel that sort of connectedness with believers around the globe. All right, the future of Refilwe. The future of Refilwe is very exciting. We are on a journey to bigger and better things, which we're very excited about. We've recently received news that our application for registration for our baby home has been approved, so we're just waiting for the certificate that proves that, and we will then be able to scale up the baby home, provided we receive enough funding to double in size and care for twice as many abandoned babies, which is very, very exciting. We're also starting to see some movement in terms of the slowdown of adoptions that we've seen for the last 2 years, which I'll talk about more under the prayer points. But that's also very hopeful that our children will be less caught in the system and more quickly able to go to their new families, which really gives us a lot of hope for the number of children that we're going to be able to help through that program. It was very encouraging to me. Nicole is our baby home manager, and I happened to visit a doctor that she works with, who also works with a number of other baby homes in our area, and the doctor was telling me that she thinks that Elroy Baby Home, which is ours, is the best by miles ahead of the others because of the policies and procedures that Nicole has put in place, which is really encouraging, and it's great to know that we are able to help as many babies as possible and really get them on the road to success. We also are currently sitting with 4 empty cottages in our foster parent program, which means that, again, funding permitting, we'll be able to double that program in size, and that's why I've been spending so much time researching and trying to understand the different conditions that foster children often have, so that when these children come, we are going to be ready to therapeutically help them to heal, to spiritually help them to heal, and to help them to catch up with any academic challenges that they might be facing. So our goal is to bring in at least 2 new families this year. We've started interview processes with a few different people. Obviously, the type of person that can commit to doing long-term foster care is a very unique person, and we're trying our best to screen them well so that we can set them up for success. We've also got an increase in the number of our preschools that we're supporting in the local informal settlements. So we've still got our 17 that we're working with in training, but we've managed to become a conduit for a feeding scheme called Stop Hunger Now, which provides packs of pre-prepared, nutrient-enriched, protein-high meals. So it's things like beans and sump, which is like a corn-based substance, packed with extra nutrients, which we now distribute to 33 schools in our area. So we're reaching 1,700 children through that program, which is very exciting. And we hope to be able to increase the offering that we're giving to those additional schools as well if we can grow a little bit more capacity in our team. And hopefully this training college that we're setting up will be a very important part of that. In terms of what role you guys in the U.S. have, funding is a huge thing. I know that there's a big talk about NGOs needing to become self-sustaining, and we are trying by all means, but there is a very big difference between a for-profit business and a non-profit and the mindset that you have there. And realistically, although you can get sustainable community projects, you cannot have a self-sustaining baby home. You cannot necessarily have a self-sustaining preschool unless you start building projects into the community which are going to improve the livelihoods of the parents so that they can afford to pay higher school fees. And so definitely funding and prayer for funding is a huge thing. As much as we love gifts in kind, so in South Africa people love to bring nappies and they love to bring formula and that sort of thing, that's wonderful, but we need to have hands that are able to change those nappies. And so being able to pay for salaries and livable salaries for our people is very important. Most of our staff have got families that they're trying to support, and we don't want those families to suffer just because the person has chosen to follow God's call to serve in a ministry like ours. Prayer is a huge thing, especially in terms of finding new godparents. That is a very difficult task, and it's one that's not humanly possible to know what sort of person these couples will turn out to be after 2 to 3 years. And so we really trust the Lord to bring the right people here, and that's something that you guys can definitely be praying for us. Also with our baby home, we've got a very prevailing trend in the country at the moment, which is against interracial adoption, it's against international adoption, and really wanting to keep children in their ethnic groups as much as possible, which is wonderful where it is possible, but there just aren't enough black parents that are wanting to adopt our black children. And so we've got quite a big backlog at the moment, where the children may sit with us for 2 to 3 years instead of for the 6 months that it should be taking them to have their adoptions processed. And so if you can really just pray against that prevailing spirit, we believe that adoption is a wonderful thing. Many of our children have gone overseas to the Scandinavian countries, and we get very good reports of how they're doing, and we just really would love to see as many of our children as possible being placed with their families. Also, if there are any of you that are feeling called to come out to our ministry, that would be another way that you can get involved in these programs. Obviously, foreigners, well, not obviously, one of the implications of this trend is that foreigners are no longer permitted to be foster parents, which is a very big change in the legislation from the last few years. But that means that we cannot recruit from overseas for our godparents, but we need a site and fleet manager. We need someone that actually knows what they're doing, who's not an English major like I am, who can decide what should be done when a roof falls off instead of needing to phone 6 people first. And that would be a wonderful volunteer position. We need help with our academic support to our foster children and to our community in the 2 aftercare programs, which is also something that can be done as a short or long-term mission position. And so that's definitely a huge way that you guys can be helpful, is if there is anyone in your church that's wanting to go into long-term missions, and we define long-term as more than 6 months, be supportive of them and encourage that. A lot of us that are here started out in a short-term mission and then came out for 1 to 2 years and have sort of gotten stuck, and we've got very wonderful people filling very important roles with our organization and with other organizations that we work with that are from the States. And it is difficult because I know that there's definitely a feel that local people should be empowered to do this kind of work, and that is true, but the local people often are not in a position to be able to do this kind of work. The qualification that you really need to have to run something like this is the same qualification that can get you a much better paying job in the corporate sector. And a lot of our local people out here are supporting huge extended families. So they're not just looking after themselves and their wives and their 2 children, they're looking after all the unemployed people in their family, and therefore they're financially not necessarily able to take a step down into an organization like this. In the NGO field, you never make as much as a corporate, and therefore we get a lot of local volunteers or local people offering pro bono service to us, but it is very difficult to recruit people that would be qualified to do the type of work that we want and willing to do it for the type of salary that we can offer. So we're working on that, but it's a work in progress. All right, the next few questions are about the time span of mission partnerships and who we're connecting with and whether it's good to connect for longer periods of time. I definitely think that it is. I think that the groups that have been involved with us for the 26 years that we've been running, and we do have a few, have been able to really see a wonderful spiritual return on their investment. So obviously we're not necessarily flourishing financially all of the time. It comes and goes very much, and the Lord provides what He will when He will. But the people that have been involved in one place for a very long time, I think, are able to sort of receive a lot of the credit for that work, in a sense. If you partner with someone for 1 or 2 years, yes, you can do a lot of projects, and you can build things, and you can put in wells, and you can do all sorts of wonderful things, but you're not able to see what happens after you've done that. So you may put in a well, and 3 years later they're not using it for one reason or another, and you don't know that, and you don't know why. Whereas if you're with an organization for a long period of time, there's a trust that's built up. Hopefully that goes both ways, and we can ask each other much more difficult questions than you would for someone that you've only known for a year. I think it also comes from a point of view of the sustainability that I brought up earlier. So there's a perception that NGOs should all be able to become self-sustaining. And if we were all wonderful entrepreneurs, perhaps that would be the case, and we are working on it. We've got a few things that we're running. Our recycling program is one which is slightly profitable, which we're very excited about, and we're all expanding the services to our more wealthy neighbors in terms of collecting and sorting their recycling. So that is moving in the right direction. But realistically, our recycling program is never going to be wonderful enough to support all of the programs that we're running and all of the children that we're trying to help. And therefore, children-based charities, just like charities for the elderly or the disabled, will always need a degree of continuous financial support. And so we would really encourage you to prayerfully consider where the Lord is asking your money to go. I don't think that anyone should have a structure that they have decided upon for how long they're going to be with an organization financially. I think that every year it should be a matter of putting it before the Lord and asking Him, where do you want our money to go this year? And it might be that for 20 years you support the same organization. It might be that you support someone for 2 years. But if you're really seeking the Lord in this, then I believe that He will send the money where it needs to go. Because ultimately it's all His, and that's what we really believe here. We have a lot of months that are very lean, and we remind each other that the Lord is the one that's called us to this work, and if He wants it to continue, He knows that everyone needs to eat. And so He will bring in the funds, and that is exactly what we have seen, is that He does every month very faithfully bring in the funds and really provides for the needs that we have. And so we also don't feel a need to hold too tightly to our partners. We are never offended when people tell us that their season has come to an end. We believe that as long as you are seeking the Lord's guidance, He will ensure that the funds that might be going elsewhere are going to be made up by someone else. In terms of the new partners that we're working with, I've mentioned already Refilwe UK and Refilwe Netherlands, and those are two organizations that have been legally established in those countries, which are specifically doing fundraising for us. Our Refilwe Netherlands partners are one of our more considerable donors at this stage, so they're able to support us with a commitment of 50,000 rand each month for the next 3 years. And so they've raised quite a lot of money together with their government, which has given a grant towards it, and they've invested that, and so they're able to say that for the next 3 years they're going to be able to support us with that, and then they're doing additional fundraising through markets, through car washes, and that sort of thing, which they pour back into that investment, which is absolutely wonderful. We're very encouraged by that. We're very hopeful that we'll be able to use that well, and it's especially great because of the long-term relationship that we've had with them, because they are willing for that money to go towards some of our salaries, which is awesome. So our preschool teachers can be paid out of that, our baby home aunties, and that's been a huge blessing to us because, as I said, that's a very hard thing to raise funds for. In terms of the programs that you guys have been more supporting, which is our food-based programs, with our preschool, we've approached a company in the southern part of Ireland called Hobart, which has committed to partner with us this year. They're bringing out a whole group of their people to ride in the 94.7, and they've committed to match the funds raised by those people, which is obviously going to be in euros, so that's very exciting for us. And they are specifically focusing on our preschool. They love the preschool, and we are really excited to hopefully be able to not only improve the quality of teaching through that, but also supplement some of the funds that we need to continue to feed our children well. With our kids club, we've got a church in California where Ryan comes from. Ryan is the head of that program, and they last year gave quite a large offering towards that. And so we're hopeful that when he goes home again this year that they will repeat that and continue to be able to be a blessing there. As I said, for a lot of these kids, they're part of the feeding schemes at their schools, which means that at the weekends they're not eating anything healthy at home. And so we greet them every Saturday morning with a little snack, and then they get a nice lunch from us, and then they're able to take a fruit home with them. And that's been really a great program. The food also helps to bring the people in, and then once they hear the message, then they're encouraged to keep coming back. And that's one of our main spiritual outreach programs to our surrounding communities. It's been very cool to see all of the kids. They do a Bible memorization, especially during the holiday clubs, and then they have quizzes and competitions. And that's been very fun to see our children becoming really much more knowledgeable about the Word, which they're not necessarily receiving at home. Some of them live next door to Sangomas, which are like witch doctors here, and we've had a lot of discussions with them about whether that's more powerful or whether Jesus is more powerful. And it was very cool to see some of the kids themselves really standing up and saying, no, that's ridiculous. Jesus is definitely more powerful. And to know that we're actually making a difference in the way that some of these kids are viewing the world. And so that's been really awesome. Why are connections like this across the globe important for the church? I think it's very easy if you are focusing on your community or even just on your country to think that the only issues God cares about are the ones that you care about. Whereas if you have a worldwide mindset and you take into account the things that brothers and sisters in the Lord are facing on a daily basis in other countries, it gives you such a better understanding of the gospel. There are many things that we deal with here that are not really problems for people in the States. There are many things that you guys deal with there that are not problems for us. Our brothers and sisters in the Middle East are being literally threatened every day, and that's not a problem for either of us, as far as I know. And so I think that for you to have a worldwide mindset, you can read about things, but if you haven't met the people, it's very hard to fully understand what they're going through, and it's very hard to be passionate in your prayers for them. When you travel and you actually meet the people in the other countries that are doing these things and going through these challenges and still seeing the work that God is doing in their lives, I think it really just improves your faith. It gives you a much bigger view of who God is and what He wants to do in the world and with your lives. And it also just helps us all to feel connected and all to feel encouraged. Like I said earlier, knowing that people in other countries are praying for us is very often something that we really rely on and that we find really inspiring and encouraging. And I think it's something that we're called to. I mean, the Bible quite clearly says that we need to not just be concerned about the activities that we are involved in. Obviously, the world was a lot smaller in those days, but they went out and they preached and they went to other countries. They took up collections for people in other countries to financially support the work that was going on. And I think that it's quite clearly mandated that this is something that we need to do. So because God says so is the main reason that I would give for a worldwide church connection. And then just in terms of a few things that you can be praying for us, we would really love your prayers for wisdom and discernment in terms of decisions that we're making. There are quite a few large strategic decisions that are on the table at the moment. This learnership college is one. It has potential to be really a great source of sustainable income for us. It will not be something that needs donations. It'll be something funded through government and through business, and so we're very excited about that, but we need to know how to do it well. In terms of our foster care program, as I've already said, be praying that the right people will come in, be praying that we are able to see each child clearly for the issues that they're dealing with and that we'll be able to help them, and also be praying for our baby home in terms of these challenges that I've mentioned about adoption and about the prevailing trends in the government. We've got also one very special baby that I'd like you to be praying for. We've got a young boy with quite severe cerebral palsy that has a family who is interested in adopting him and from the States, and we would just love for your prayers to be over that process. I think that if he can be adopted, it will be a wonderful thing for the glory of God, because people look at a child like this and they say, why in the world would anyone bother? But God bothers with the least of these, and we really believe that it'll be an amazing testimony to all the people that we work with, and especially the non-believers that we work with, about the way that God works and the way that God cares for all the people that He's connected with. We'd also like to ask for your prayers. Quite a few of our staff are ill at the moment. This is our winter season, and when you live in a shack where it gets wet inside, it's very difficult to keep your health up. So if you could just pray for us to be strong. We're coming into a very busy season at the moment. And then also if you can just be in prayer for Megan and Jay with their little baby. I think that it's been a wonderful time so far, but if you can just pray that they'll have wisdom in their work-life balance, that will be wonderful. And yeah, we're looking forward to continuing these conversations and to continuing our relationship with you guys. And we just really appreciate everything that you've done. So thank you so much, and I hope you really enjoy the rest of your service.